But I think you need to get a haircut.
And I'm offering to do it.
Many of us were stuck in our homes for
Oh,
Pesach
this is boring.
and weren't able to get a haircut before the Chag. Now that the morning practice of Sefirat Ha-Omer kicked in, many are asking if you still can get a haircut, perhaps on Erev Shabbat. Now, of course, some people only start morning practices on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, but there is a solution to get a haircut on Erev Shabbat, even if your minhag is to begin morning right after Pesach. And the question is why? So if you look in the sources, you'll see that the minhag of not cutting your hair was a later addition, only about the 13th or 14th century, but it certainly was codified by the Shulchan Aruch, who said that is noagim shelo listaper al lamed gimel ba'omer, that we have a practice of not getting a haircut until Lag BaOmer. Now, that being the case, however, there is a notion mentioned in Halakha which says that if a person was in captivity, if they couldn't leave their house, whatever it might be, before the Chag, can they get a haircut during Chol HaMoed? Keep in mind, the prohibition against getting a haircut on Chol HaMoed is a Isur D'Rabbanan. It was a Gzeira, takana made by the rabbis. And nonetheless, the rule is that if a person was truly stuck before the Chag, they can get a haircut during Chol HaMoed. Many, including the Bir Halacha, who was also the author of the Mishnah Berurah, assert that if that's the case, the same rule applies also for Sefirat Ha-Omer. Those who are truly stuck before the Chag can get a haircut during Sefirat Ha-Omer as well. Not everyone agrees to that argument, but there are other considerations as well which would allow us to say that on Erev Shabbat in particular, a person can be lenient and take a haircut. Another source for leniency here comes from the laws of the 9 days. In general, we don't get haircuts during the 9 days, and even on Erev Shabbat. After all, it's not that big of a deal to wait 9 days to get a haircut. But let's say a person was truly stuck and couldn't get a haircut before the 9 days. So the Mishnah Berurah actually says that we're not lenient in this case. We just tell a person to wait to the end of after Tisha B'Av. But in his Bir Halacha, he quotes Rabbi Akiva Eger, who says that in fact, just like when a person doesn't have clothing and can do laundry during the 9 days, Erev Shabbat, L'chvod Shabbat, so too we allow a person to get a haircut, L'chvod Shabbat, even during the 9 days. And the third argument to be lenient in this case is the fact of the matter is that even though the Shulchan Aruch rules that we don't get haircuts at all during these 33 days, period, nonetheless, there were other Achronim, later commentators, who actually thought that there were different minhagim in their area. Immediately after the Shulchan Aruch published his rulings, the Rabaz in Egypt in the 16th century said that he's not so sure that the customs are so strict with regard to haircuts. Maybe we can do on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, maybe we can do in other cases. And many Achronim in the period afterwards cited him to justify the common practice in their areas of taking a haircut on Erev Shabbat. The Pachad Yitzchak says this, the Chidah says this, and many others have cited this idea as well. And therefore, when you put all these factors together, A, the fact that this might be similar to the rules of Chol HaMoed, B, that there might be a general rule, as we see during the 9 days, of the L'chvod Shabbat, it's permissible to get a haircut, and C, that the practice in many different countries and areas, even after the Shulchan Aruch codified the rules of haircutting during the Sefirat Ha-Omer, allowed for haircuts on Erev Shabbat. Putting all these factors together in this unique year and this unique situation, I think it's mutter for a person to get a haircut on Erev Shabbat. Can you rely upon this leniency in another year? Let's take the following case. Suppose a person got a haircut reasonably 10 days before Pesach, and then in the midst of Sefirat Ha-Omer, let's say 4 weeks in, he or she all of a sudden had a very important business meeting and had to look their best for the occasion. So here too, one could argue that on the Erev Shabbat, the L'chvod Shabbat, a person could also get a haircut in this situation, but when the case comes up, certainly consult with your local rabbi for guidance. I hope this was helpful for you. Shabbat Shalom.